We're going through some challenging times right now. This thing, a democracy, what does it mean to you? Government by the people, a system of representation, absence of hereditary benefits. Everyone has a slightly different idea of what that really means, but at the end of the day, do we all have access to the same things? Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, products, or commercialism? Well, if there's anything that's an open door, most likely it's on the product side. But what about those other things that we should value even more so? Our liberty, our pursuit of happiness. What are the challenges that exist within a democracy? And so for the systems that represent us, we have the same challenge of electing those who should actually be controlling the systems. With that, you have to deal with governments, you have to deal with monopolies, you have to deal with haves and have-nots. Not only that, not only the control piece, but also the access. And so in our information age these days, do you have access to the information that you actually need to pursue the things that you actually want to in life? That's a big question. And I don't believe everyone essentially has access to that information, or if they do have access, they may not have the easiest way of finding it. And last but not least, the distinctions between good and bad versus better and worse. That view has been skewed and changing over time, where we're choosing the better of two outcomes as opposed to one that is good and one that is bad. So maybe our priorities are out of whack, and maybe there needs to be some changes put in place. So with that, we have some alternatives that are coming into fruition. The first is redistribution. A redistribution is happening as we speak. The very change of the script that has governed the haves and the have-nots is essentially flipping on its head. There's been a shakeup of health by the pandemic, especially by wealth, of the impact the pandemic has actually had. Love, the relationships, the things that we were freely able to do that now are under a little bit more of a restriction, and the fulfillment, or what we actually have done to create the enjoyment that we have in our lives. That has all been thrown up in the air. And it is our job to figure out, well, which one do we catch? And in what order do we catch them? What is actually the most important out of those four to you? There's also a federation that's been happening. And that federation is a change of physical access to virtual access. Think about it. The things that we used to freely walk to, such as, let's say, a local school, the various activities that you would do around your neighborhood, those have not completely opened back up. And so as a result, you have to figure out what can you actually do with your time if it has to be something that's defined by virtual access versus physical access. Or what if the risk is essentially too high to do the things that you actually once loved to do? You have to make a decision. But that very decision, that very choice, even though some opportunities look like they have closed, it has opened borders that have been closed for a very long time. And so there's going to be a fundamental change when that actually happens. And then last but not least, amplification. The consequences for not making the best use of your time have not ever been more impactful as they are now. Time that you don't know how much you have, time that you don't know what perhaps is the best use of it, but time nevertheless. And so we should all be learning some very valuable things right now. We should be learning that life is precious. We have to respect one another for wanting different things. We have to respect one another for being different. We have to love one another for what they can do, not for what they can't. And you must recognize that you can get anything that you want in this world as long as you enable someone else to get what they want. And so to make all this happen, you're going to have to do some things that some folks may not like. And you're going to do some things that folks may love, but whatever those things are, you have to do it for what is good and it needs to be going against what is bad. This whole idea of better and worse, you need to clear out of the picture. What is good and what is bad. So, what does that mean for you? Could very well mean you have to create some trouble, but good trouble.